wanted to focus this morning on the theme, or the whole day, on the theme of Jay Galbraith's work and the matrix. Jay was remarkable in a way of the extent to which he took sort of one big idea and really over a 45-year career took that idea and developed it in a very generative way, so that if you looked from his early work through to what he was working on right as he, in his last few months, there's a continuity and a sort of underlying thread that actually ties all of his work together.
So the problem we got is every time we add one of these dimensions, it's not a bolt-on, right? Now golf is. Golf's a separate product line, still worrying about what they're going to do with Tiger Woods and so forth.
He always had so many quips, and it was just fun to be with him, and he would crack jokes right and left, and he would always interject jokes in all of his speeches. Another thing that was really nice about Jay was his intellectual curiosity. He was always reading the paper, always asking questions. In fact, he was probably one of the few people I know who could construct an organization chart just based on reading newspaper reports and also analyzing the annual report. You know, in the back where they list all of the officers, he would be able to figure out what the organization chart looked like based on just those bits of data.
TruePoint stands for, and that I believe that Jay stood for, is learning. Again, if you think about, and again, both in terms of Jay's work, but also Jay as a human being and in his life. So if you think about the whole notion of evolutionary design, at its core is the notion that organizations are built of human beings who learn and develop their capabilities and skills over time. But also Jay was someone who was continually learning his entire life and growing and teaching us to learn. If you look at his career, you know, some of us may have one or two good ideas. Jay continued to push the envelope. Early on, the work he did on information processing as a way of thinking about organizations, and then the work on the matrix and on the Star model, and then thinking about organizing around the customer, and the work we did together around opportunity-based design, and then, you know, even towards the end of his life, thinking about big data and how does big data change what organizations are about. So continuing to learn and evolve who he was in the same way that he says leaders and managers also need to continue to evolve their organizations. You know, lots of connections, it feels like, between Jay and all of us that live on.
Jay's research and work connected very closely with our own, and that was why we were such good collaborators over 15 years. And it was really at three different levels. At the basic, most fundamental level, the core foundational assumptions that are behind Jay's Star model are exactly the same as ones that I have evolved my organizational thinking. So the idea that strategy drives design, the idea that organization is more than structure, the idea that organizations evolve over time, and that it's a challenge of ongoing alignment and realignment, that those foundational assumptions are all the same.
I think one of the most powerful frameworks that Jay developed was this sense of levels of coordination that go from informal coordination up to bringing together teams, to creating overlays, to actually creating dedicated business units. And he highlighted that it's not an all or nothing, that there's an evolution that organizations go through, and that as leaders, they really need to think thoughtfully about where they are. They need to engage around emerging dimensions of opportunity, which is really what matrix organizations are about how do you appropriately deal with multiple dimensions of opportunity, product and function and geography and so on, but think about that in an organic, evolutionary way. I think there is a tendency we all have to tend to think that, well, if you just get the structure and you publish the organization chart, it will all come out okay. And we can all take a deep sigh of relief because we figured it out. But I think what Jay would say is, no, that's when the work actually begins.
If I had to pick one word that captured the connection between Jay's work, TruePoint's work, and my own work, it would be alignment. Alignment was central to Jay's idea of the Star model, and alignment was central to the ideas that formed the basis for TruePoint.